In the shadowed town of Arkham, I, Nathaniel Blackwood, antiquarian and scholar, dwelt in a crumbling manse. My life was one of quiet study, poring over tomes of forgotten lore in flickering candlelight. One dreary autumn, a parcel arrived wrapped in coarse burlap, reeking of damp earth. It bore no sender's mark, only my name scrawled in an unsteady, archaic hand. Within lay a book, bound in blackened leather, its title etched in glyphs unknown to mortal tongues. The Codex Abyssum, its name whispered in my mind, unbidden, as if spoken by another. Its pages, brittle and yellowed, were inscribed with spiraling symbols that seemed to writhe. Each night I studied the codex, drawn by an insatiable compulsion I could not explain. Dreams plagued me, vast, starless voids where unseen things gibbered in the dark. In those dreams, a voice, low and sibilant, called my name from beyond the veil of reality. By day, Arkham seemed changed, its shadows deeper, its air thick with unspoken menace. The townsfolk avoided me, their eyes averted as if I bore some unseen contagion. I found strange marks on my windowsill, clawed scratches as if something had tried to enter. The codex spoke of Zatharoth, a name that chilled my blood despite its obscurity. Zatharoth, the Whisperer, an entity older than time, dwelling in the interstices of existence. Its purpose was vague, yet its hunger was clear, a devourer of minds, a weaver of despair. I sought answers in Miskatonic University's restricted library, where forbidden texts moldered. There, in a dusty grimoire, I found mention of Zatharoth, bound by ancient rites to the void. The rites required a vessel, a human mind to anchor its presence in our world. My heart sank. The codex had chosen me, its reader, as that doomed vessel. I burned sage, drew sigils, but the air grew heavy as if mocking my feeble protections. At midnight, the walls of my study groaned as if pressed by an unseen weight. Shadows danced without source, forming shapes that defied Euclidean geometry. The codex lay open, its pages turning of their own accord, revealing new, sinister text. Words appeared. Submit, Nathaniel. The void awaits. Zatharoth hungers. I slammed the book shut, but its voice lingered, echoing in my skull. Sleep fled. I saw eyes in the darkness, lidless, luminous, watching from nowhere. I barricaded my doors, but the house felt alive, its timbers creaking with malice. A neighbor, old widow Crane, spoke of hearing whispers from my home at night. She crossed herself, muttering of things that should not be, before fleeing. I resolved to destroy the codex, but my hands trembled, unable to act. The book seemed to pulse, warm to the touch, as if infused with unholy life. In desperation, I wrote to Dr. Armitage, Miskatonic's occult expert, begging aid. His reply was curt: cease reading. Seal the book. Flee Arkham. But the codex called, its whispers now a chorus, promising forbidden knowledge. I read on, unable to resist, learning of Zatharoth's dominion over lost dimensions. It was no god, but a force, formless, eternal, indifferent to human suffering. My mirrors reflected not my face, but a void where stars screamed in torment. The air grew colder, my breath misted, though the fire blazed in my hearth. Footsteps echoed in empty rooms, heavy and deliberate, never approaching. I found my notes altered, my handwriting replaced with alien script. The codex's glyphs began to appear elsewhere, etched into my desk, my walls. Sleep brought visions of a city, cyclopean and abandoned, beneath a sunless sky. There Zatharoth's form flickered, tentacled, amorphous, a blasphemy of existence. I awoke screaming, my voice not my own, guttural and alien. My reflection now showed eyes not mine, black, endless like twin voids. I fled to the church, seeking solace, but the cross seemed to writhe in my presence. The priest paled, muttering of excommunication, and cast me out. Arkham streets were empty, yet I felt watched by unseen multitudes. The codex, left behind, was in my study when I returned, open to a new page. It described a ritual to summon Zatharoth, requiring blood and madness. I burned the page, but the ashes reformed, the words intact, mocking me. My dreams grew vivid, a voice promised power if I surrendered my will. I resisted, but my thoughts felt foreign, as if another mind stirred within. The stars dimmed at night, as if cloaked by some vast, unseen presence. I found carvings in my garden, spirals like those in the codex, deep in the earth. The soil there was warm, pulsing as if something lived beneath. I wrote to Armitage again. He did not reply, but his assistant sent a warning. The codex is alive. It chooses its reader. Destroy it or be consumed. I tried fire, acid, prayer. Nothing marred the Codex's blackened hide. The whispers grew louder, now audible to others who fled my presence. My shadow moved independently, stretching toward corners where light failed. I saw Zatharoth in waking hours, a shimmer in the air, a distortion of reality. It spoke my name, its voice a cacophony of 1,000 tortured souls. My bookshelves bled, oozing a black ichor that smelled of decay. I boarded my windows, but the darkness seeped through, thick and tangible. The Codex now opened itself nightly, revealing secrets I dared not read. I saw visions of worlds consumed, their suns extinguished by Zatharoth's will. My hands shook, my writing became glyphs, unintelligible even to me. The air in my home grew viscous, as if reality itself were unraveling. I found a dagger in the Codex, its blade etched with the same spiraling runes. It felt alive, urging me to spill my blood to complete the ritual. I cast it into the fire, but it reappeared, cold and gleaming, on my desk. The townsfolk gathered, torches in hand, demanding I leave Arkham. I fled to the woods, the Codex clutched to my chest, unable to part with it. In the forest, the trees whispered, their branches forming Zatharoth's name. I built a fire, intending to burn the Codex, but it laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The stars vanished entirely, the sky was a void, pressing down on me. I heard my name not from the Codex but from the earth itself. A chasm opened, its depths endless, exhaling a fetid, otherworldly wind. I stood at its edge, the Codex heavy in my hands, urging me to leap. Zatharoth's form rose, a writhing mass, neither solid nor shadow, infinite yet near. It offered eternity, knowledge, power, all for the price of my soul. I refused, hurling the Codex into the chasm, screaming defiance. The ground shook, the chasm closed, but the Codex lay at my feet, unscathed. I ran, stumbling through the woods, pursued by whispers that knew my fears. Arkham was silent when I returned, its people gone, its houses empty. My home was a ruin, its walls inscribed with glyphs that burned to behold. The Codex waited, open to a page that named me its herald. I felt my mind fraying, thoughts slipping into a void I could not escape. Zatharoth's presence grew, a weight on reality bending space and time. I saw myself in dreams, no longer human but a conduit for its will. The dagger returned, its blade now warm as if eager for my blood. I wrote this account, my last act of defiance, to warn others. The Codex grows heavier, its whispers now a scream within my skull. I see Zatharoth everywhere, in shadows and reflections in my own eyes. The void calls, promising oblivion, an end to this torment. I cannot resist much longer, my will is not my own. If you find this, burn the Codex, though I fear it cannot be destroyed. Zatharoth comes. The whisperer in the void claims its due. I, Nathaniel Blackwood, write now in trembling haste, my mind a fractured pain against Zatharoth's will. The Codex, indestructible, lies open, its pages now a mirror reflecting my hollowed visage. Arkham is no more, its streets are a labyrinth of mist, where forms flicker and vanish. I wandered, seeking escape, but the town's borders loop back to my ruined manse. The sky above is no sky, but a tapestry of writhing shadows, pulsing with alien intent. Zatharoth's whispers are now my thoughts, indistinguishable from my own fading voice. I clutched the dagger, its runes glowing, urging me to carve the final sigil in my flesh. In a moment of clarity I fled to the river, hoping water might cleanse the Codex's taint. The river ran black, its surface rippling with faces, mine yet not mine, screaming silently. I cast the Codex into the depths, but it surfaced dry and mocking at my feet. The air hums with a low drone, as if the earth itself chants Zatharoth's name. My shadow no longer mimics me, it gestures toward the void, beckoning me to follow. I found a cave, its walls etched with the same spiraling glyphs as the Codex. Within, an altar stood, ancient and stained, radiating a cold that burned my soul. The Codex opened itself upon the altar, its pages now blank, awaiting my blood. I resisted, but my hand moved, guided by an unseen force toward the dagger. A voice, not Zatharoth's but older, spoke from the cave's depths. Resist or all is lost. I staggered back, the Codex shrieking, its pages bleeding ink that crawled like insects. The cave trembled, stones falling, as if the earth rejected Zatharoth's presence. I fled into the night, the Codex inexplicably in my arms, its weight crushing my spirit. The stars, briefly visible, were wrong, arranged in patterns no astronomer could name. I sought the old church again, its steeple now twisted, pointing to that alien sky. Inside, the pews were filled with shadows, humanoid yet formless, chanting in unison. Their words were gibberish, yet my mind translated. Zatharoth rises. The veil thins. The dagger appeared in my hand, its blade now pulsing with a sickly green light. I stabbed the codex, but the blade turned to dust and the book laughed, a human scream. My reflection in the church's cracked windows showed a thing with too many eyes. I ran, the town dissolving around me, streets folding into impossible angles. A figure appeared, Dr. Armitage or his shade, his face a mask of sorrow and warning. He spoke, "The codex is but a key. Zatharoth is the lock in the door." He vanished and the ground split, revealing a void where light died and madness reigned. I stood at its edge, the codex open, its pages now a map of that otherworldly city. The city from my dreams, cyclopean, eternal, built by hands not meant for this world. I felt Zatharoth's presence, a weight that crushed thought, leaving only despair. The dagger reappeared, whole and gleaming, whispering promises of release. I carved a sigil into my palm, not by choice but by compulsion, blood pooling. The void stirred, a ripple of unlight as Zatharoth's form began to coalesce. It was vast, a chaos of limbs and eyes, a blasphemy that defied comprehension. I screamed, but my voice was swallowed, replaced by its own guttural chant. The codex glowed, its pages filling with my blood, forming new, unspeakable words. I saw visions, worlds devoured, galaxies unmade, all feeding Zatharoth's hunger. My body moved without my will, walking toward the void, the codex my guide. I clutched at sanity, reciting childhood prayers, but they crumbled into alien tongues. The river reappeared, its waters now a mirror showing Zatharoth's true form. It was not one entity but legion, a multitude of horrors bound by a single will. I threw the codex again, but it clung to my hands, its leather fused to my skin. The sky split, revealing a cosmos of endless voids, each whispering my name. I felt my mind unravel, threads of self pulled into Zatharoth's infinite maw. Yet a spark remained, a memory of Armitage's warning, a call to resist. With my last strength, I tore the codex from my flesh, blood and agony my price. I hurled it into the void, and for a moment the whispers ceased, the sky cleared. But Zatharoth laughed, its voice now within me, promising I was already its own. The codex returned, whole and unmarred, lying open at my feet once more. I write this now, my hand not my own, the dagger poised above my heart. Zatharoth comes not as conqueror but as truth, the void is all and I am nothing.